Hello, Journey family and friends. It's Pastor John here with this week's edition of Midweek Conversations, joined as always by Pastor Dustin Agar.
Yes, sir.
Pastor Dustin, good to see you.
Good to see you, and we got a great special guest.
We got a guest right between us here.
Yes, sir.
You want to introduce her?
This is Katie Karp. Katie is one of our residents, which we'll get into in a little bit, but really, really grateful to have you, Katie.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we are. Hey, hope you're enjoying the Daily Wisdom series. We are excited about that. We see a lot of people viewing that on a regular basis. I want to remind you of the 3 challenges of the Daily Wisdom. Number 1, read a chapter of the book of Proverbs every day, hopefully the chapter that corresponds with the day of the month. So read the chapter. Number 2, pick out one verse. Pick out one verse and just meditate on that. Write it down. Put it somewhere where you're going to see it. Post it. I try to post all of the verses that I kind of speak to me on our YouTube channel. And by the way, you can see all the messages on our YouTube channel. So go back if you haven't seen them, check them out. You can get caught up pretty easily. And then thirdly, don't take the Daily Wisdom Challenge alone. Share it with somebody else. Share it if you're married, with your spouse, if you got a roommate, close friend, work partner. But don't take the wisdom journey alone. There are just so many good things in the book.
It's been great. The teachers have been great. And so today's, January 12th, so you would read, Proverbs 12.
Proverbs 12, yeah.
We've had great teachers, great feedback, people letting us know that they're watching it on the way to work or they're watching it in their quiet time and watching it as couples. And just love how you're leaning in and God's doing some new, fresh things.
Yeah, so every day, Journey YouTube channel, you can check out a new teaching that drops every morning really early. And just and watch. One of the teachers is going to be Miss Katie Karp.
Yep.
Katie's going to be doing
couple days.
What days did you do?
Proverbs 14 and I know there's another proverb that I did. She'll just have to wait and see which one it is.
Cliffhanger.
They had a cliffhanger.
So Friday, so in 2 days, so Friday you'll get to see Katie. Yeah.
That's awesome. Hey, before we jump into what we want to talk to Katie about and why we have her on here today, Katie, I want you to know we are sitting among the presence of royalty, golf royalty.
I heard there was a rumor.
So I want to share some things with you, some very important stats. Our man right here, Pastor Dustin Agar, hole-in-one. A hole-in-one in golf, January the 4th at Dubsdread Golf Course,
yes, sir.
Which happens to be Dustin's home course. Yeah, Dustin grew up in College Park, just a block or two away from the course. Yep. And so you love this
hole number
golf
3,
course.
Love the course.
Hole number 3.
Beautiful day.
Par 3, 173 yards.
Yes, sir.
Tell them what iron you hit.
I hit a 5-iron for those that know golf.
Hit a 5-iron, and I so wish we had video of this. We don't have video of it. You see some pictures here. You can see some pictures of what happened afterwards. But when he hit it, it just sailed up, and I said, man, what a good-looking shot. And it landed about 8 feet short of the pin, and
just to the right, and
just
then
to the right, and it disappeared. It rolled and disappeared. So the biggest challenge was getting him to believe it. He did not believe it, and we had 2 guys following us on a hole behind us, and they came up and they watched, and the guy who was following, he said, that went in the hole.
Yeah, they went nuts. They celebrated. I'm like, I don't know if it went
No, it didn't. No, it didn't. So finally we get up to the hole, and you can see the picture of the ball in the hole and Dustin there. So it was good. But I want to read this to you. 450 million rounds of golf are played annually. 25,000 to 30,000 rounds per course here. And Dubsdread is a public course. I bet it's higher than that. Each course reports 10 to 15 aces. That's what golf insiders call a hole-in-one. Each course reports 10 to 15 aces per year. Our man here, 1 to 2% of golfers score an ace in a year. You are in the 1%, brother. Wow. Now listen to this. The average years of playing golf before making an ace is 24 years. How many years you been playing golf?
Maybe 22. Probably 22 years.
Well, I've been playing golf for over 40 years. I've never had a hole-in-one. I'm not bitter about it.
It's Pastor John. It's not hard. I'm committed to teaching you. Yeah.
Seriously, I've been playing for a long time. Never had I've come maybe a few inches of getting a hole-in-one, but our man here. Hey, one more time.
I appreciate it. So Pastor John
That was awesome.
Was a great teammate. He just celebrated more than I did. He was so excited. I still was in disbelief.
I saw it.
And to the point where he said, hey, we got to go in the pro shop afterwards. So we go in the pro shop, and he's looking for some celebration, and rightfully so. And this is just, what the Lord does. He loves to keep us humble. And we go in the pro shop afterwards, and I wanted to buy a Dubstred golf ball to commemorate it, and it's $3. And in the back of my head, I'm thinking maybe they'll give it to me or something. And I get up to pay for it. And Pastor, he hit a hole in one. The guy behind the counter. That's nice. That'll be $325.
That's exactly right. He said, "Oh, really? Actually, that's good. $325."
$325. And
Well, listen.
the Lord has a way of keeping us humble. So
We're going to make a big deal out of it because it is a big deal for a golfer to hit a hole in one. So, Dustin, here, think about this. The average years of playing golf is 24 years. So, how are you going to be? You're going to be, 70? You're going to be in your 60s before you get another
before
one.
I get another one.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. So, Dustin, tell them why Katie's here.
Katie is a resident. For those that don't know, a residency program is something Pastor John and I are passionate about. We want to pour into the next generation of leaders. They come here after they graduate college, come here for 2 years. We train, we equip them to do ministry at a high level, high capacity, and then we send them out. Katie is our very first resident.
Yeah.
And you need to take a look at Katie because she's not going to be a resident much longer.
Yeah.
She's completed her 2 years. And once you get close to the 2 years, we start looking for the next placement.
So tell them about the commitment that we add. I mean, almost every resident is a college graduate.
Yep.
So graduated, and you're a Liberty grad, right?
Yes, sir.
Graduated from Liberty a couple years ago. And then 2, we ask them for a 2-year commitment.
Yep.
And after 18 months of being here, they can begin to look, and we help them in looking for what that next step will be.
Yeah, so my commitment is just having friends in ministry, like both of us, all around the nation. My commitment is to introduce them to as many people as I can in the first 18 months.
Yeah.
And their commitment is to not leave in that time.
Right.
And then after 18 months and 1 day, they just take off and start shopping around. And Katie has interviewed at some of the greatest churches around in the nation.
Yeah.
Been offered some great opportunities, and so one of the things to note with the residency, this is not something that people are like, hey, I might want to do ministry, let me check it out. These are for people that know for sure that God has called them into lifelong ministry, and that's who we want to help train, equip to last the long haul.
So give them the 2-minute version of you meeting Katie. In the Charlotte airport.
So Katie's our first resident, and I'm on my way to Liberty University to teach some senior classes where there are seniors who would be ready for a residency. Right. And I fly to Charlotte and then to Lynchburg, and when I get to Charlotte, I'm in the airport, and all flights get canceled because of the weather. And now I'm gonna miss the senior class that I'm supposed to teach in. So now I'm thinking, what a wasted trip. I'm sitting down literally on the floor of the airport, and somebody walks by me and says, hey, are you Dustin Agard? And I said, yes. And he said, I think my wife served with you at a camp in Orlando, Florida called Camp Weewa 20 years ago. Just right here around the corner, Camp Weewa, 20 years ago. And so I said, sure enough, yes. So he had one of those Delta lounges, I guess. And so he said, hey, we're in the Delta lounge. You want to come sit and hang out with us while we wait? So I, of course, say yes to going with this guy to the Delta lounge. And I see my old friend that I served with, and had no idea that they knew Katie and said the same thing to Katie. They saw her and said, hey, why don't you come in the Delta Lounge? Katie had actually been there for 24 hours waiting on her flight, got canceled.
What a bummer.
So she's just
like where people are right now with all these cancellations.
My heart goes out to them.
And she's exhausted. She's in sweatpants. She's just like, man, chilling. I'm done. And so we're sitting down, we're talking, and I don't have a clue who she is. And so I said, tell me about yourself. She said, well, Katie, I go to Liberty University. I said, really? I said, I'm heading to Liberty. That's what I got shut down. I'm heading to Liberty because we're in Charlotte. And I said, well, what year are you? She said, I'm a senior. Oh, really? So what are you studying? Studying ministry, specifically youth ministry. And she's a senior. I said, really? I said, when do you graduate? She said, 3 weeks. I said, really? I said, well, tell me what's your next. What do you think? What are you looking for next? She said, well, I'm really looking for like a residency type program that I can jump into. I said, come on. And then I said, where are you from? I'm from Orlando. I used to go to, First Baptist Church of Orlando, which is my home church, and I said, come on. And we talked about, our cancer story backgrounds, and God just literally met us right there. And so one thing led to another. We weren't going to launch the residency until the summer of the next year. And then God introduced us to her, and we said, okay, let's scramble and make it happen in January because she was ready. We weren't ready, but we said we could figure out how. And here's the deal. If we wouldn't have said yes, who knows when the residency program would have started, because COVID happened in March.
I didn't even think about that.
That's a great
So you
thought.
triggered the residency that we didn't even know. And this is the word that God told me when I was anxious that I couldn't make the class. God said, listen, I'll provide the people. You just get ready. You don't even need to go to Liberty. I'll bring them to you. And it was like God hovered over the Charlotte airport. Then come to find out, because of this guy's connections, we ended up getting a flight, and I got to get to the class on time, which worked out even better.
Well, two things that come to mind on that. Number one, I'll be preaching on this Sunday in Daily Wisdom, because my chapter is Proverbs 16. Many are the plans in a man's heart, but the Lord directs his steps.
Amen. Yep.
So you had some plans. Good. We should have goals. We should have plans, but we should always be looking for what God is willing to do. Second reason I think it's important to hear a little bit of that story is it was in the Charlotte airport.
Yes.
And tell us where you're going, Katie.
Yes. So I actually just recently accepted a position as a campus student director. Woo! So student ministry, that's what I started out here as a resident. Now that's what I get to be doing in the future. And I'll actually be working at Forest Hill Church in Charlotte, North Carolina. So, I mean, I can't even...
It's full circle.
It's God's poetry. That's what I've been telling people, is I feel like...
God's poetry. That's
He
so
has
good.
just been poetic writing this story, and now bringing me back to Charlotte where I met Dustin, and sitting in that airport again in the same exact area thinking, I know this is where God's leading me. And then to end up, again, Charlotte. I don't know what it is about Charlotte, but...
If you are at home and you're thinking, man, I just need more of God in my life, get in your car, drive to Charlotte.
Go to Charlotte.
Problem solved.
Come visit me.
God is hovering over Charlotte.
Specifically, the Delta Lounge at the
Delta
Charlotte
Lounge.
Airport.
Exactly.
Yeah, right.
So here's the thing. She said some things that you got, some things you didn't get. For example, Forest Hill Church. You may not be aware of it. Great church, healthy church, large church. How many campuses?
I think there's about 6.
5 or 6. Yeah, 6 campuses.
Thriving campuses.
I have friends there and that love it. And Katie was interviewing at a variety of great opportunities. And I would ask her about the interviews, and she said, oh, it was really, really good. The church is really great. And then there was just something longing in her heart. And she always ended every conversation with, but I'm just excited about Forest Hill, which was the last place she interviewed. She said, I can't wait. I don't want to make a decision until I go to Forest Hill. There was already a longing and a heart that God was doing every step of the way. And then when you got there, you just knew it.
I knew right away.
Yeah.
It was immediately something, I think, being in the residency program, obviously you go in with training in a lens to see, is a church healthy? Is this where I might be a good fit? And immediately I could tell Forest Hill was a super healthy place, but I also have a deep desire to just be a part of a ministry that feels like a family. And I knew that was the case at Forest Hill.
I know throughout your interview process, Dustin communicated to me that you shared with him about how the residency program prepared you for the interviews and some of the topics and just able to respond. To share a little bit about maybe a couple of those things that you felt like, well, the residency program really helped me be ready for that.
Right. Well, correct me if I'm wrong, Pastor Dustin, but I think the statistic is that your first 2 years in ministry are typically your most brutal. Like you experience the most pitfalls of ministry, things that you just didn't know that you didn't know. Yeah. And so the residency program, what it does is it gives you that 2 years with the safety net of an incredible coach and just being a part of a ministry family that welcomes you in and says, we're going to keep you here even if you fail. And so because of that, I was able to go through my hardest 2 years in ministry with a family that was coaching me and teaching me along the way, to the point that at the end of that 2 years, you feel like you've been in ministry for 10. And I will say that's something I noticed because of the program. So many of the churches that I interviewed with, they were shocked when they found out that I've only been in ministry for 2 years. Wow. Based on the language that I was sharing and just some of the culture and background I'd experienced in ministry, they were like, Katie, it sounds like you've been doing this for 10 years. And so for that, I'm super grateful. It was very noticeable, the accelerated rate of training that you get in the program.
Awesome, awesome.
And we've got to see that firsthand with Pastor Christian. I mean, so many of us look at Pastor Christian, and when he first got here, he was 25. He felt like he was in his young 30s.
Yeah, right.
And that's, the residency program at 12 Stone. It's just the amount of experience. So I'm so glad to hear that. And we couldn't be more proud of you, Katie. And one of the things that we've said from the beginning is the residency is meant to train, equip, raise up, and then send out. And there's a difference between being sent out and just leaving. And so we want to actually send people out, whether they're volunteers, whether they're staff, whether anybody, we'd rather send them out with a blessing from the Lord. And that's one of the things that we got to do this past Sunday at the Apopka campus is send Katie out. And so Katie, we talk about it all the time. We couldn't be more proud of you. And, we've called Katie the pioneer woman.
The pioneer woman. She's the real pioneer woman. I mean, think about it. She came here before when there was nothing. I mean,
nothing.
We had nothing. A vision, a hope. That's what we had. And yet you felt like God was leading you to come to do that. And it hadn't been here long. COVID shuts down everything. Yeah. And yet persevered through all that. So, Katie, we're so happy you're our first resident.
Oh, yes. I'm so grateful.
And you gave her a special jersey.
Yeah. So one of the things I do for residents when they leave is I want to give them something that's more specific to them. So for her, we felt like it would be appropriate to give her an LSU baseball jersey.
Now, why LSU? To tell them, Katie.
Both my parents went there, so they kind of brainwashed me. Go Tigers.
She's a big LSU fan, big baseball fan.
Your brother played there, right?
My dad played baseball at LSU.
Dad
my
played
brother
baseball.
played at FSU, so go Seminoles too.
Okay, gotcha.
So she's a baseball fan. So, and on the back, as you can see, it says resident, and the number is 01 because she's the first resident. And literally, it is pioneer. And that's the cool part. Wherever the Lord takes the residency, God had used Katie to help make that happen. And this is not an easy sell. It's not an easy program. It's not for everybody. It's a lot of hard work. It's demanding. It's low pay. I mean, literally committed at the time for $500 a month. We've upped it to $600. But you're saying for 2 years, I'm willing to do that, to sacrifice that. And man, now what God is doing in you and through you and where He set you up. For you to say yes to that, you have no idea what that's done to the residents. Now we have 6 residents, incredible from all around the nation. And so we're just so grateful.
And they're hearing some of those residents teach, along with Katie, in the Daily Wisdom Challenge. Katie, any final words for Journey?
Oh gosh, Journey family, thank you so much for just your generous heart to give. I mean, truly, we talk about it all the time, but the residency program was a vision that Pastor John and Pastor Dustin both had, but without your heart to give, I wouldn't be here. And so you're giving me the opportunity to step into a calling to ministry that otherwise I might not have been able to get trained in or equipped in. And the last 2 years, it's been my greatest joy to be a part of my Journey family. And please continue to believe in the vision of the residency because it's changing lives just like mine.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, Katie, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
On this week's edition of Midweek Conversations. We hope you'll continue to join us in our Daily Wisdom series, as we mentioned before, this Sunday, in person, online, 9:30, 11:15 a.m., but every day between now and leading up to then, you can hear a new teaching on the book of Proverbs. And like Katie said, thank you so much, Journey, for your generosity. Our residency program is really one of our mission projects, one of our mission partnerships that we have, because we are investing in people that, by and large, aren't going to be here doing the rest of their ministry at Journey, but they're literally being sent out, and that's what a missionary is. I like to think of Journey as the church at Antioch that we read about in Acts chapter 11. Diverse leadership, mission heart, sending people out. And Katie is our first resident to be sent out from us here. So thank you for making that possible. As always, we are loving the journey.